Hello and welcome to the One-to-One Show. Not every day you get to meet your heroes, and today I get to talk to the legendary concept designer Andrew Probert. We're also going to be putting another item in the spotlight. As you can see, I've got my shark up there. Actually 3 items to win a coveted place on the wall, and we'll also be answering your questions. So sit back, relax, and start the show. So welcome to tonight's episode and welcome to how the studio is looking at the moment. Obviously, this is a work in progress. We do have some new things coming as well. But recently, while we were building the studio, I actually got to interview Andrew Probert. Now, if you are a fan of things like the Back to the Future DeLorean or the Enterprise refit from Star Trek The Motion Picture, even the Enterprise D from The Next Generation, you'll already be a fan of Andrew Probert's work. But today, I'm going to be talking to him all about Airwolf. Check this out. I'm in Agora Models headquarters in Canterbury today rather than my usual studio because this is where we're making Airwolf, which is going to be quite cool. So I'm glad that you've said that you'll come and have a chat with me. But what I wanted to do is just find out a little bit about you first, because I know there's a lot of people that are introduced to Airwolf for the first time. And I know that for you, I believe it started in the late 70s and the 80s. So with your start into Hollywood, how did that happen? So if you started with Battle Star Galactica, then I think you went on to Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Correct.
Which was quite a big leap. How did that all come about?
It's through the magic of knowing one person. When I was going to school at Art Center College of Design in California, Star Wars was being advertised as coming out soon, so to a galaxy near me, and everybody was very excited about it. Some of the designers, the spaceship designers of Star Wars, actually went to Long Beach State, which is not too far away from Pasadena, where the school is. So a bunch of us went down there and looked at some drawings, some original Star Wars artwork that they had down on the campus in a special display because of the movie coming out, done by a guy named Ralph McQuarrie. And one of the articles said that this was an LA-based artist, Los Angeles-based artist, Ralph McQuarrie. It's like, okay. I looked him up in the phone book and I called him. And he says, hello? I said, hi, I'm calling for Ralph McQuarrie. This is Ralph. I go, I would like to interview you for my school newspaper. He goes, yeah, what school? I said, Art Center. He says, I went there for a little while. Come on over. I did interview him, and they printed it at the school. And just a short time later, my car broke down, and I needed some work to get me into the next semester. And I thought, well, this might be fun. I went to Ralph and I said, is there anything going on in town that you think I can work on while my car is getting fixed and waiting for the next semester? And he said, well, I'm working on 2 projects. I'm working on a project called Star World, WORLD, and Buck Rogers. So I noticed that Star World, the special effects were being done by the same guys that had done Star Wars. And I thought, ooh, this would be a great way to just jump on that and learn more from these same guys. So I said, I'll do that one. So I went down, I talked to John Dykstra at ILM, and they hired me to start designing helmets for these costumes. And so I'm designing helmets. Then they wanted me to design the rest of the suit, and this turned out to be a robot, and that just happened to have a scanner in the helmet. So as time went on, they changed the name from Star World to Battle Star Galactica.
Wow.
And I ended up designing the Cylons out of school. So then I went back to school, and at some point I get a call, and it's like, hello? It's like, hi, this is Ralph McQuarrie. Like, Ralph, what's going on? He said, I'm working on this Star Trek movie. And it's like, they're making a movie of Star Trek? Because I was a big fan of this TV show. So he says, yeah, I'm working on this thing, but George called me up north to work on the next Star Wars film and they needed a designer. So I gave them your name. Is that okay? Yeah, that's great. So then my wife and I talked about it. I was like, well, just in a couple of months or so of graduating, getting my diploma. And it was like, well, you're studying to do this kind of work, you know. My major was industrial design, so that would be like designing toasters and radios and that kind of stuff. And so my wife says, "Well, you can, you know, finish your, get your diploma, finish your degree, go out and look for work, and maybe get something that you like, or you can take this job that's being offered to you right now."
Mhm.
So I went in. I did talk to the people. Robert Abel and Associates was doing the special effects for Star Trek at the time. And I talked to Robert and I talked to my art director, my upcoming art director, Richard Taylor. And this company and Richard both are Emmy Award winners for commercials that they've done. They've done a lot of leading edge visuals in the commercials of the day. And so that was a great company to go with. So I dropped out of school and went to work on Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Wow, so it really happened quickly for you then. After that, it was sort of like because you were very busy in the 80s eventually after those initial things that you started off with.
Yeah, the 80s were loaded with a lot of stuff. Yeah, I worked on 10 Men, War and Remembrance, Batteries Not Included, Project X. And then I stumbled into something called Back to the Future. I was talking with Bob Zemeckis, the director, and one of the producers. And I said, "So, who are you going to get to design this car?" And he said, "Well, we're bringing in Ron Cobb to do that. We want you to do storyboards." It's like, okay, I could do that. So I started out doing storyboards. Ron came in and doing storyboards, you have to have something in the boards that looks like a car. So I came up with a bunch of different designs just so I could get something in the storyboards. And then Ron came aboard. He designed his version of the car and then he left to do another show. And they said, "We're not quite satisfied with Ron's version. We want you to add some stuff to it," and so on and so forth. So I kind of ended up designing the final version, although it was more of a collaboration. And Ron was one of my heroes, so it was a thrill to be able to work with him.
Wow.
But that's how that happened. So moving on, then Airwolf.
Wow.
Airwolf was 1983 to 84, and I I honestly don't remember how I got that job or who I actually spoke with.
So with Airwolf, was you brought on as Airwolf to do concept design, was you? Or was it storyboarding? Because in the end, you seem to do everything on
I'm an everything kind of guy, apparently.
there.
So I went down. I magically was hired on Airwolf. They needed concepts for the helicopter. Oddly enough, Ralph McQuarrie had done some early work on it, and for whatever reason, they just wanted to continue developing.
I do have some of your art here.
That's mine. So I was doing that. Also, I was doing storyboards. So there was kind of a code bouncing back and forth and so on and so forth. They needed an interior for Airwolf, so I designed that. Chuck Davis came up with a paint scheme for the helicopter. It's actually a dark green. People think it's a gray, but it's a dark green and a white. So the fun thing was that they had a helicopter, a Bell 22, sitting there in the shop, pretty well gutted, stripped out, so that I could actually go in there, feel the space, and where Santini was going to be riding behind with all the electronics. They needed a logo for the show. I ended up designing the show's logo,
I've got
and
that here as well. Look.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the arm patch, which actually came later. The
Oh, the
logo is
logo. Yeah, the Airwolf, the
just the
branding
word
font as
Airwolf
well.
with a line through it. It said the line actually represents the blades cutting through the words in an abstract kind of way. And then they needed their flight suit, which I designed, and they needed some kind of an arm patch just for fun, so I did that. And what else? Oh, I did the helmet.
I've got,
Uh,
yeah.
right there, you go. That's moi.
But with your design of Airwolf, and I'm looking at the pictures here, did you have to because you already knew they were going to use a Bell 222 helicopter?
Correct. Yes.
Did you have to think what looks good or what practically could be attached to a helicopter to film?
Both. Yes, that's what I had to think of. What could be attached to the helicopter and work that would look good? Well, obviously it had to be aerodynamic. I have a certain feeling for aerodynamicities,
Mhm.
and it my drawings went to I did like section views and so on, and my drawings went to a company that actually makes add-ons for aircraft, flying vehicles, private planes, helicopters, whatever. And so they were able to confirm or deny my ability to create something that would work on a helicopter. So I did that. And you know, the funny thing is, when they finally test flew the helicopter for the very first time, the pilot came over and he said, "This flies better than it did before." So I'm thinking I must have filled some sort of gaps or some kind of something in the body that gave it an easier flow. I don't know. And the thing is that I kept trying to add things to the helicopter that would only be like a paint line, like a door. Well, we're not actually going to knock a door through here. We're just going to paint a line that says this is where a door is, according to this
Uh-huh.
script. There was a script where they had a motorcycle. At the back of the helicopter would lower down like some medevacs, and they had this helicopter that was inside the helicopter, and they faked it by doing cuts and so on and so forth, and it worked. But I'm the kind of guy that likes to account for everything. So I tried to suggest that, and it was like, nope, we're not going to do that. I tried to suggest those drop down rocket launchers like you see in that drawing,
Yeah.
and it was like, nope, we can't do that. I go, okay, they must be really tight fitting doors if you can't see them. But that's okay. That's his job. He's the art director. He was or production designer.
Uh-huh.
So, and I liked him. So we everything worked.
Because we're noticing here where we're designing Airwolf as a model that you've got things that just don't work, that like they retract, but there's no space in the interior for them to retract. So I'm guessing some of the stuff that was designed was attached with no, I don't know how the movie magic works for that sort of thing.
The only thing I'm gonna actually have some drawings of my own here. The only thing that would not probably not work would be the rocket launchers up in the belly.
Uh-huh.
You've seen this, right?
Yep.
We can presuppose that in the Airwolf version of the Bell 222, the decking is a little higher that would allow that to come up between the deck and the exterior fuselage. So that's a presupposition. The jet engines in the wings is a modern miracle. That's how that works. Because I don't know how you could actually do that. You'd have to create a structure uh, around the wing supports in order to get those in there. Here's a drawing. Hang on. So, for instance, here you can see that there's a certain amount. There's the avionics package, and behind that there's their chaff or like their chaff illusion rockety fireworks things ejector. And in the front, of course, there's all the cameras and other kinds of detectors. And and that sort of bows out slightly, and then it blends into the housing for the jet engine. And so we can suppose that part of that is a unified support for that, what you would call wing, which is actually a landing gear housing. So that just happens to house a gun that telescopes. The telescoping part really kind of bothered me because it's like, well, how do you have rifling on something that telescopes like that? And the producers have a special signal that makes everything work. And the signal is, and that's it. It's like, okay, so um, we've got that was the original concept,
I think
like a first.
I've got that one here. Yeah.
Exactly. And then down below that, you see the chaff uh, ejector or whatever you want to call it. This is one example of what I would do. I would take and do these lines so that I could feel the space, and then the people that were building it knew exactly what I was going for.
Yeah.
There's the original.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, there's another one. There's another view of what we're talking about. And this is the left side, the never before seen left side of the helicopter of the Santini's area.
Wow.
Next question.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, in the 80s, you had all of these super vehicles. You had like Knight Rider, Street Hawk, Blue Thunder, Airwolf. Why do you think Airwolf has held the test of time? Because even today, me being in the model building world, people are saying, we want Airwolf, we want Airwolf.
I'm guessing that that's because Airwolf had a little more, I want to say style, but that's not on me. I'm saying that the Bell 222 is very stylish to begin with compared to the other, helicopters that were being used. And I really don't know. I mean, the scripts were well written. Don Belisario produced some great stuff.
Uh-huh.
That's a good question, a really good question, because I don't know. Because I worked on it. That's why.
Yeah, but
I
it's not just the concept design though. You were doing storyboards for this as well, wasn't you?
well, yeah. Here's some storyboards. Uh, Going from the helicopter flying over. Yeah, this was when they were chasing Moffat. I think was that the pilot episode where he stole the helicopter,
Mm-hmm.
and so they were chasing Moffat, and hello, where are we? So he's driving along, and Airwolf is hot on his tail, no pun intended, and and he realized as he comes over the hill that he's facing Airwolf right there, and Airwolf says, uh, "Hello." Then he tries to shoot that fueling uh, thing. And then Stringfellow has his own idea about who he's going to shoot, and Moffat gets a big bang out of the result. So those are some of the storyboards.
They're excellent. Actually, one of the storyboards I just saw there was one of the helmets showing the close up of Stringfellow, and I've got this one here that I just showed you earlier on. Was this designed so that you could see the actors' faces?
Yeah, the helmet was designed so that, yes, you could see their faces from all kinds of angles, but yet it had a way to electronically target in on something ostensibly built into the faceplate of the helmet itself, so that you could call up a display.
It's impressive. Absolutely impressive. Well, I think we've covered everything at the moment. I'm looking forward to actually bringing Airwolf out to everyone. It's actually due out our model in 2027, but I will keep you in the loop about everything that's going on. We're very excited.
Well, you should be. It sounds great. I'm excited to see what you all come up with. Maybe you can add those doors that Chuck wouldn't add.
Yeah, I thought all the stuff. Yeah, you. That's good.
We'll talk about that.
So I'm now joined by James Franks from Agora Models. What did you think of that?
That was so interesting. What an amazing career he's had.
He's been really helpful for us as well. He's actually gave us some storyboards and stuff to actually look at as well. And I have said to Andrew that we will keep him up to date with the progress that we've got for the Airwolf build at the moment. But absolutely brilliant guy. But the reason I've got you here is because we've got some items now to put in the spotlight, which is going to match the shark, which is now on the wall from last week.
Hey.
But this week, slightly different, because I've got no idea what it is. Okay, there's no expense spared with the technology in here, but we've got 3 items on here. And the theme, I believe, is which Andrew Probert vehicle is the coolest? So here we go. So the first one is Airwolf. I mean, we've been studying this recently. It's great. The second one?
Yeah.
You can't put, oh my God. Okay, the Enterprise D. And the third one, the DeLorean from Back to the Future. Oh my God, this is Sophie's choice. What are we going to do? Come on, what's your input?
So I'm not a Trekkie. I'm not really a fan of Star Trek. So tell me about this one. What is this?
How dare you? Okay, so this is the iteration of the Enterprise that doesn't exist anymore. It's actually got destroyed in Star Trek Generations.
Okay.
Then it was brought back in the series Picard. But this was basically the show that rebooted Star Trek. So for this to come up now, you see, I do like Star Trek. I'm a big Star Trek fan. The trouble is that with the DeLorean, this came out in 1985.
Okay.
This was like the time of my life when, you know, I'm like a sponge absorbing everything. I absolutely loved this.
So this is about the same time as Airwolf, though. That was
83, 84, yeah.
Like that. So when's the Enterprise?
So the Enterprise was, I believe, 87.
Okay, so all around about the same time. Okay, so the DeLorean, let's have a look at that.
Could be 89, I'm not sure. It's one of those years. So here's the DeLorean.
So Back to the Future, I watched it and it was a good film.
Okay.
But I'm not crazy about it. It's not a cult thing for me. So what is it about this?
Well, did you watch this in the cinema?
No.
No? I think the thing with the Back to the Future, there wasn't anything like it in the past. You've had time travel movies like the 1960s Time Machine and stuff like that, but the take on this was something that was, you know, the story of it is probably problematic, I think, to actually try and pitch it, which I believe they did have issues pitching this film. But the fact that it had a DeLorean and they decked it out just like this. Now, Andrew did mention in his interview, this was actually designed by Ron Cobb. He left the project and Andrew took over the project and did some of the extras on this as well.
It looks amazing, I have to admit.
I mean, if I could have a DeLorean, I mean, and to drive, apparently the car wasn't all that. but you know, to deck it out, look like a time machine, something else. But, you know, Airwolf. Now, Airwolf, I loved Airwolf, but my brother loved it even more than me, so much so that he actually joined the Royal Air Force. Because of this, because he liked
the helicopters of the Royal Air Force were like that.
Exactly, he was all into Action Man back then and stuff like that as well. So this was an inspiration for him. And out of the 2 helicopter shows that were on at the time, which was Blue Thunder and Airwolf, this is the one that stands the test of time. In fact, if you look at some of the supercars of the 80s, like Knight Rider, Street Hawk, which was another of Andrew Probert's vehicles, and Airwolf, this is the one that seems to be the one that everyone remembers.
Yeah, because I can't visualise Blue Thunder. Who's the actor? Well known.
Blue Thunder, that was Roy Scheider in the film, but then you had Dana Carvey, Wayne's World, you know, Garth? He was the co-pilot in the series, but it only lasted 11 episodes. So
I do go back to the DeLorean because I don't know if you know, there's a link between this and Street Hawk. Do you know what that is?
Apart from Andrew Probert, no.
No, there's another link, Christopher Lloyd.
Oh,
he was in both.
Oh, was he?
He was in one of the very early episodes of Street Hawk.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's another one of these Mandela effects, because for Street Hawk, I imagine there being like 3 or 4 series, but that didn't last very long at all.
Something like 13, 14 episodes, I think. I think the problem with that one is that it followed these. Yeah. And it's kind of a Knight Rider meets Airwolf meets motorbike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not so good. So.
But. For me, if I was picking, do
you want to pick this?
The thing that spawned the most is Star Trek. It has to be. This was such an iconic thing that it lasted 7 seasons. I don't know how many episodes that equates to, and God knows how many movies as well. Even though it was destroyed after Star Trek Generations.
For me, it's got it. Can I have a go?
Yeah, go on.
We
Yeah, you can touch the screen.
Oh. So for me, Airwolf, I think it's the one that I watched. Because it's kind of, as I say, Back to the Future, watched once, okay, and Star Trek, never been really into it. So for me, Airwolf.
So that means we've got a draw. We're going to have to put it to the crew.
Enterprise for me, I think.
I was going to say Airwolf. So.
Well, I think it's Wayne's show, so we'll go with Star Trek.
Yeah, I think we need some bit of Star Trek on the wall.
Go on then. Put it in the frame.
I will put it in the frame, although I don't have a frame here. I used the last one on that, so I will get another frame and we'll get that on the wall. I'm glad you're here, James, because I've been looking at the community forums and looking what feedback's been going on, and I'm pretty impressed at the moment to see people weathering vehicles, not just the Orca, but as you can see here, there's someone saying the SAS Jeep is crying out to be weathered and made realistic. This is Aid Hawley. People have actually done that. So check this out. This is Pit Stain Hobbies. This is Ian Schwartz.
Crazy Ian.
It's Crazy Ian, yeah. Obviously, he's done the tyres with all the sand effects. The engine's been made grubby and it's looking really good. Looks desertly sanded.
So I've actually watched his YouTube video of doing this, and he's kind of shows what he's used. So I bought those, some rust.
So you're going to have a go?
I'm going to have a go.
Okay.
I bought some rust and some sand, and kind of he starts on the engine, and then he's moved on to the wheels. So I'm going to have a go at the engine.
Well, I need to do this because I do plan to do this with my Jeep as well. We've got another one here as well, which is Bill O'Malley. Check this out for the engine. All the rust here, and it looks worn in. I do think it needs it.
That is amazing, isn't it? That looks like a real engine.
That's absolutely brilliant.
Very impressive.
Well done, Bill. I like that. And then we've got the Orca. It's going to be very impressive and so much fun to weather it. Ian Schwartz again. Right. So many people have been weathering the Orca. It's amazing to see. It's going to be so much fun watching the community weather the Orca. No two will be the same by Brett Music. Can't agree more. Cannot agree more. This is some of the weathering at the moment by Grim Willows. This is Mark Knight. His work is absolutely amazing. And he's done things like he's changed the door. Obviously, he's got the weathering here. Check this out, though. He's done the interior with this lovely wood effect, which I believe he used ochre and wood grain effect on this. But he's also created the books, not just the pages, but the outer covers, the dust jackets as well. Even one of the Jaws books there. That is attention to detail.
So I think he watched the movie and got the actual books from the movie, isn't he? So the covers are the covers from the movie, apart from obviously the Jaws novel. I think that's just a little Easter egg in there.
That's amazing. But Mark Knight, Grim Willows, he's been updating the site with that. So that's absolutely amazing. But why don't these models come pre-weathered? That's quite a big question people keep asking me.
I think there's a couple of reasons. One is simply some people like to weather themselves. That's part of their hobby. So they want a pristine model which they can weather. I think if we weathered them all, one, from a production point of view, it's very difficult actually. So when you join parts of a model kit together, the weathering would have to match up on the joint, which, that's fine when you've got like two colours or even a stripe or something, you can match those, but when you've got like tiny strains of weathering, to get them to match up is nigh impossible. So that's a problem. And I think people want to weather in different ways as well. If we gave one weathering, on the Jeep, we do it one way, people think, it's not quite how I'd do it.
Yeah.
So they strip it down and do it
It'd
anyway.
be very cookie cutter as well. Everyone's would look the same. And I think
So they wouldn't
having
then be
that
really
flare,
weathered, would they?
having that flare in there would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the point of weathering is to make it unique.
Yeah, and make it your own.
Even the cars, we get people strip the paint completely. So they get a red car, strip it, paint it blue, and do it. I think our mission is to just get kind of the basic model. That if that's all you want to do, get a basic model and build, that's fine. But there's enough there then to do your own thing if that's what you want. Okay,
James, you mentioned that you were weathering your Jeep. Is there anything else you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, we're having a go at the Constitution. First wooden ship I've built. Louis as well is having a go here. I think you're.
Yeah, I'm just about to start pack 3, so I'm very much behind at the moment.
We're on 5.
How are you getting on with it?
Good. It's just I mean, it's not as difficult as I thought. It's quite reasonably straightforward. It's just the time, kind of dedicating a bit of time to kind of spend on it.
Well, I've got something to show you here. Check this out, okay? We all started at the same time, okay? Check out this. This is John Alaprantis. Look how far he's got into this at the moment. Oh my word, look at it.
Look at those.
And he's even copper plated the hull here.
That's just amazing.
That's absolutely amazing. Now, I don't know what pack this is up to, but I mean, he's well ahead of me.
Yeah, he's well ahead of me. He's got all the guns on the side there. But each one of those is like 20 bits.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Put all those. And
But I don't know, I beggars believe how much time he's actually put into that so far, but it's looking absolutely amazing, John. So if you are watching, this is pretty impressive. Okay, but that is the Constitution. So, James, thank you for joining me once again.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate that.
It's okay.
And that's all the time we have for today, unfortunately. But if you do want to watch the extended interview of Andrew Probert, that's going to be available soon. Next week, we're going to be interviewing Mike Lane, talking about all his mods. I got the opportunity in the roadshow to actually go and visit the Cutty Sark. Check this out. And remember, if you do want to get in touch with us, please leave a comment. We do read through all comments. But I hope you enjoyed the show today. Take care.